Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Elena Smoller and I'm a first-year student of International Relations at Petersburg State University. Today, I'd like to talk with you about the role of Russian diplomats in the past and the present. I divided my presentation into 6 parts: introduction, diplomats in the past, diplomats in modern world, summary, conclusion, and references. The main goal of any diplomat is to maintain or restore mutually beneficial relations with other countries and try to avoid wars. This profession has existed for a long time and has constantly faced numerous challenges. Time goes on, new international conflicts arise, and diplomats are forced to resolve them. So, the aim of my presentation is to discuss the influence of the most prominent Russian diplomats on Russian history from the 18th century to the 21st century. I decided to start with the 18th century because it was the time of the power of the country. At that time, Russian foreign policy was distinguished by high activity in the East. Thus, Sergei Yoshkarov, Russian Major General and Privy Councillor, spoke 10 languages. Thanks to his ability to gain the trust and respect of the representatives of Eastern states, mutually beneficial relations were established with Iran and the Ottoman Empire. In the second half of the 19th century, Russia was mainly engaged in internal transformation, avoided international conflicts, and refused to act in Europe, trying to resolve disputed issues through diplomatic means. One of the most famous Russian diplomats of the 19th century was Alexander Gorchakov, the Russian Minister of Foreign Affairs from 1856 to 1882. He helped the Russian Empire restore international recognition, which had been undermined by the results of the unsuccessful Crimean War, as well as return the Black Sea back. If we fast forward to the second half of the 20th century, we can by mention Andrei Gromyko, the Soviet Minister of Foreign Affairs during the Cold War. His efforts helped to prevent the beginning of the Third World War. He constantly negotiated with the United States, not allowing Soviet-American relations to deteriorate. Now, let's move on to our next point: diplomats in modern times. As you may know, the self-control, confidence, and flexible mind of Sergei Lavrov, the Russian Minister of Foreign Affairs, helped Russia to conclude the European Security Treaty, simplify the visa regime with the United Europe, and stand against the American missile defense system. Special attention should be paid to the diplomatic activities of Vitaly Churkin. Thanks to his readiness and openness to compromise, he defended the position and the honor of Russia during numerous discussions in the UN Security Council. He represented Moscow's interests in the UN during the Russian-Georgian War of 2008, after Russia's accession of Crimea, and after the MH17 crash in Donbass in 2014. This presentation won't be complete without mentioning Andrei Karlov, the Russian ambassador to Turkey, who was shot in Ankara in 2016 by a terrorist. His diplomatic skills helped to extinguish the Russian-Turkish conflict that broke out due to the destruction of the Russian Su-24 aircraft in Syria in 2015. To sum up, the professional achievements of such outstanding personalities as Sergei Yoshkarov, Alexander Gorchakov, Andrei Gromyko, Sergei Lavrov, Vitaly Churkin, and Andrei Karlov convince us of the important role diplomats played both in the past and the present. It's the diplomats who defend the interests of their countries and decide their fate in negotiations, not on the battlefields. In conclusion, I'd like to say that the results of the activities of diplomats, which are often hidden from our view, have given and will continue to give humanity an opportunity to live in peace, security, and relative prosperity for as long as possible. Here you can see the references, which I used for my presentation. Thank you for your attention.